9 Miles with the Redwoods, based on a true story. There are places on Earth that feel older than memory, places where time doesn't move in seconds or minutes, but in breaths, slow and patient. The Redwoods are like that. They don't just stand. They loom, they listen, and they remind you how small you really are. I was visiting my friend Mike up in the Redwoods. He'd been working nearby for a few weeks and invited me to drive up and stay for a few days. It was one of those early fall weekends where the air still holds a bit of summer warmth, but you can feel the shift coming. The leaves whisper differently. The mornings bite just enough to make you breathe deeper. On our second day, we decided we'd hit a trail, something with waterfalls. We found Big Basin, 9 miles of forest, falls, and ridgelines just long enough to make you feel like you'd earned something. We got there in the afternoon, sun still hanging low enough to paint everything gold. The first stretch of the trail was pure magic. The air was thick with that sharp, sweet scent of pine and damp earth. The sunlight poured down through the canopy like liquid honey, breaking into pillars of dust and warmth that reached all the way to the forest floor. We stopped often, not because we had to, but because it was impossible not to. Every turn felt like a photograph waiting to happen. About 2 miles in, I stopped to get a shot of the valley below, that soft, endless stretch of green. Mike decided to have a little fun. He jumped in front of the camera mid-pose like some kind of lumberjack ballerina, but when he landed, his ankle twisted and the sound it made was off. He winced, tried to shake it out, insisted it wasn't bad, said he could keep going. We didn't know then that he'd fractured it. Still, we pressed on. The waterfalls started a short while later, 3 of them spaced across the middle section of the hike. Each one felt like a reward. The first was narrow but tall, the water cutting a white thread down a wall of moss and fern. The second fanned out wide, shallow and smooth, spreading across the rock like silk. The third was the showstopper, sunlight bending through the mist, catching rainbows in the spray. We stayed too long at each one, 20 minutes maybe, took pictures, laughed, let the sound of the water drown out the world. If I could go back, I'd tell myself to keep moving, to enjoy the beauty but not linger, because the sun in the Redwoods fades faster than you think. By the time we hit the ridge trail again, the light had shifted. It came in at an angle, red and soft, threading through the trunks. The path hugged the mountain's edge before curving into denser forest ahead. That's when I saw it, the entrance into the canopy. The sun still touched the dirt beneath our feet, but up ahead the trees closed in so tightly it looked like a tunnel into night, a black hole in the forest. We paused there for a moment. I remember how the air changed, cooler, heavier. Even the smell shifted from pine and earth to something damp, ancient. Then, without another word, we stepped inside. The last of the daylight vanished within seconds. It was like someone flipped a switch. I clicked on my headlamp, our only light, and the beam caught motes of mist floating between the trees. Mike moved slow, his ankle throbbing, one hand on my pack for balance. We had 2 pocket knives between us, more comfort than defense. Half a mile in, the world went dead quiet. That's when I heard it, the sharp, deliberate crack of a twig somewhere behind us. I swung the light back. The beam caught 2 reflections about 30 feet away. Eyes, low to the ground, pale green and steady. The shape behind them was unmistakable, smooth, muscular, tail low and swaying. A mountain lion. It froze when the light hit it, then backed silently into the brush. Gone. For a long moment, neither of us moved. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I kept the light fixed on the spot, waiting for any sign of motion. Nothing, just the dark, breathing forest. When we started walking again, the silence followed us, thick and absolute. Even the air felt like it was listening. Every few minutes, there'd be another sound. A step, a shift, something brushing through leaves, always behind, always pacing us. A few hundred yards later, we stopped again. Another sound, closer this time, off the right side of the trail. I swept the light and caught movement between 2 trunks. The lion was crouched low, eyes glowing back at us from the undergrowth. I shouted, waved the light, and it slipped away again without a sound. Mike was starting to sweat despite the cold air. His breathing had gone shallow, uneven. "Just keep moving," I whispered. "Stay close." The trail twisted through dense brush, and the canopy above grew so thick the headlamp felt weak, like it was cutting through smoke. Every now and then we'd stop, listen, hear nothing, and think maybe it was gone. Then the sound would come again, from the other side. A branch bending, a pad against dirt. 9 times that happened. 9 separate moments where the forest held its breath and we stood locked in a silent standoff with something unseen. Sometimes we'd catch the glint of its eyes, sometimes just the faint sound of its shifting weight. Each time when we stopped, it stopped. Talking was sparse. Mike cursed me a few times for moving too fast or not giving him enough light. I was frustrated too, scared, tired, trying to keep the beam steady while carrying both our packs now. His was 40 pounds of water jugs, and when I hoisted it onto my shoulders, it felt like gravity itself had doubled. Another crack behind us. I turned and the beam caught movement again, just a blur this time, too close. The lion had come down off the hill and onto the trail. Its eyes flashed, then vanished as it slipped back into the dark. We stood there, knives out, breath fogging in the cold. I could feel the forest pressing in, the trees, the silence, the presence of something ancient and sure of itself. I remember thinking, this is its home, not mine. When we finally saw the faint gray of open air ahead, it didn't seem real. The end of the canopy looked like a ghost of daylight. As we stepped out from under those trees, the change hit instantly, the chill replaced by open air and dim, forgiving light. Ahead of us, maybe 500 yards of trail sloped toward the parking lot, dimly lit by distant lamps, but after what we'd just come through, it looked like the gates of heaven. We didn't talk, we didn't run, we just walked slow and steady until the dirt turned to gravel and the forest fell silent behind us. By the time we reached the car, the adrenaline had worn off. My hands were trembling when I turned the key. The headlights lit the trunks ahead, pale and still, as if the forest was watching us leave. The drive back to the hotel was quiet. Mike had his leg up, ankle swollen, face pale in the glow of passing lights. I remember watching the road curve through the hills, the way the shadows of trees leaned over the asphalt like they were still following us. And somewhere along that drive, between the silence and the hum of the tires, it hit me. How thin the line really is between awe and fear. How the same forest that had taken my breath away hours before had nearly taken it for good. The Redwoods are beautiful, but beauty, I learned that night, doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes it means respect. Sometimes it means knowing when to look and when to leave. 9 miles. Just 9 miles with the Redwoods, but I've never looked at them the same way since. Thank you for coming and listening to my story. This trip taught me a lot about preparation in the future and stays with me to this day. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day.